Well, the lockdown to continue in Maharashtra for now, asking people not to let their guard down. Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray extended the restrictions imposed in the state by 15 days. The Chief Minister said the state saw a high number of COVID cases over the past few days, but added that the recovery rate of 92% is a good sign. He said that while COVID cases are decreasing in the cities, rural areas of the state are seeing a spike. He thanked the people of the state for their determination in following restrictions imposed to stem the surge in cases.
अजूनही जी रुग्णसंख्या आहे ती एक 2-5 दिवसापूर्वीचा जर का आकडा पाहिला तर गेल्या लाटेमध्ये जी एक सर्वोच्च ज्याला आपण पीक म्हणतो ती जी संख्या होती तिच्या बरोबरीत आहे. आता थोडीशी कमी होते. म्हणजेच काय की अजूनही आपण म्हणावं तेवढं खाली आलेलो नाही. गेल्या वेळेला जे एक सर्वोच्च जे पीक ज्याला म्हणतो आपण जे गाठलं होतं आणि ते खालून वरती आलं होतं, या वेळेला ही जी संख्या आहे ती वरून खाली आलेली आहे. कुठे येणार का तर तिसरी लाट ही अशी काय तारीख सांगून येणार नाहीये. किती दिवसांनी येणार हे सुद्धा अनुमान आपल्याकडे नाही. हे संपूर्णपणे आपल्या वागणुकीवरती अवलंबून असणार आहे.
Well, in fact, the COVID cases, if we talk about the COVID cases, and the CM today in his speech said that right now we are seeing the cases which were, during the first wave, the highest cases during the first wave, which was 24,000. So we are somewhere there right now. And there are, certain districts in Maharashtra, especially the rural Maharashtra, which is seeing a slight spike in the positivity rate. And that is the reason he is continuing with the restrictions. However, there are certain relaxations given to certain districts. Now, those districts which have a positivity rate which is below 10% and also an occupancy of oxygen bed which is less than 40%, those districts especially will have certain relaxations, and the relaxations are the essential shops which were allowed to open from 7 to 11 a.m. will now be open from 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. and also the non-essential shops which were closed till now, the non-essential shops in those districts are given the permission to open, and the district administration can take a call on that. But even those shops can open only until 2 p.m. So post 3 p.m. there will only be, emergencies like medical kind of emergencies. Only that is allowed. As far as, the government offices is concerned, 25% attendance in these districts will be given. But as far as the districts where the positivity rate is 20% or more, and even, the oxygen bed occupancy is more than 75%, the district borders of those, districts are going to be sealed. So there will be no movement in those districts. So it is basically district-wise relaxations and tight restrictions which have been announced today by the CM.
Meanwhile, staying with Maharashtra, anticipating a third wave and a possibility that it could affect kids more, rural Maharashtra has started preparing for a COVID ward for children. At the same time, Ahmednagar has seen 8,000 children get infected in the month of May alone.
This is Maharashtra's Sangli area where a COVID ward for kids is being prepared. Currently, there are 5 children being treated here, and the facility is being prepared for more patients.
तीसरी लहर का ख्याल रखते हुए हम लोगों को ध्यान में आ गया कि बच्चे संक्रमित होने लगे, तो बच्चों को उसमें से बाहर निकालने के लिए उनको कुछ अलग से दिया जाए कि उनको ना लगे कि वो कोरोना के वार्ड में है, कोरोना का ट्रीटमेंट ले रहे हैं. तो उस हिसाब से हम लोगों ने कोरोना वार्ड को पूरा का पूरा तब्दील कर दिया, जैसे कि वो किसी नर्सरी स्कूल में खड़े हुए हो या किसी प्ले ग्रुप के जो स्कूल्स रहते हैं तो उसमें खड़े हैं और वहाँ पे कुछ सीख रहे हैं.
Already there are alarm bells. In Ahmednagar, about 8,000 kids below the age of 18 are infected, and that's about 10% of the cases in the district. The district administration is meeting pediatricians to make sure that they are prepared for the third wave.
वैसे जो है कि 10% जो है कि वो बच्चे पॉजिटिव निकले, 8,000 के लगभग बच्चे पॉजिटिव आए.
सेकेंड वेव में देखा गया तो मेडिसिन का शॉर्टेज था, ऑक्सीजन का शॉर्टेज था, या बेड्स भी अवेलेबल नहीं थी. तो उस हिसाब से थर्ड वेव के बारे में सब काम किया जाएगा. ऐसे सबको मिलकर उसके बारे में आज बातचीत हुई है और निश्चित रूप से थर्ड वेव के लिए नगर एक अच्छी तरीके से काम करेगा.
The state government does not want to take any chances. They are expecting a third wave at the end of July or in early August, and so the government has about 2 months to prepare. With Purva Chitnis in Mumbai, Bureau Report, NDTV.
Now, Telangana is among the 3 states where daily relaxations have been increased despite a continued lockdown. At a cabinet meeting that took place, the state government resolved to continue the lockdown for another 10 days, and daily relaxation has been extended from 6 a.m. now to 1 p.m. Now, the lockdown will continue in Haryana as well. It's been extended by a week till the 7th of June, the state government announced, as it relaxed curbs imposed on shop timings and malls. Addressing a virtual press conference, Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar said even though the COVID situation has improved in the state, it has been decided to extend the lockdown till 5 a.m. on June 7th with some more relaxations. And the Uttar Pradesh government has decided to relax restrictions in districts that currently have less than 600 active COVID cases starting from the 1st of June. Districts with bigger cities such as capital Lucknow, Noida and Ghaziabad, where active case count is high, won't see relaxations in the curbs for now. According to a government notification, markets in districts that have less than 600 active cases can now open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on weekdays. The weekend curfew, however, will continue to be enforced, and this closure will be used for sanitizing market areas in both urban and rural areas. Now, in an order issued on yesterday evening, the DDMA said starting from today on Monday, relaxation has been given for operations of manufacturing and production units within closed premises in approved industrial areas. Additionally, it said construction activities within their work sites will also be allowed outside the containment zones during the curfew period. Delhi reported less than 1,000 cases of COVID. The positivity rate has also dipped to 1.19%. The Delhi government said that over 13,84,000 people affected with COVID virus have been cured so far. In the last 24 hours, more than 2,000 people recovered and 122 deaths were reported in the city. Presently, the total number of active cases in the national capital is around 13,000. More than 31,303 beneficiaries were vaccinated with COVID vaccine doses in the last 24 hours. And with this, more than 52,89,000 vaccine doses have been administered so far. Well, time for us to slip into a short break. We'll get you more news on the other side. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, will the CBSE and ICSE conduct the 12th examination? Anxious students and parents across the country are eagerly waiting for what the Centre and the Supreme Court will say. Today, the top court will consider a PIL for cancellation of the 12th exam due to COVID, and the results should be declared based on internal assessment, is what the PIL says. The court will also consider another PIL which favours conducting the examinations. Now, amid concerns over the pace of vaccination in India, the centre has said that nearly 12 crore doses of COVID vaccines will be available in June for the immunization exercise. This is a 50% jump from the allocation in May, when a total of nearly 8 crore doses were available to states and union territories. According to a release by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, around 6.09 crore doses will be supplied for free to states and union territories in June for the vaccination of healthcare workers, frontline workers and those aged over 45 years. Another 5.86 crore shots will be available for direct procurement by states, union territories as well as private hospitals. News now from West Bengal, which is one of the most populous states of India, and the pace of vaccination there is a worry. While post the cyclone, the state did register an increase in the number of vaccinations daily. Experts and the government say that till the time more supplies come in, scaling up is going to be a huge challenge.
I didn't get vaccine till now, and I must say that the situation is very bad in Kolkata.
हम लोग डेली कोविन ऐप में जाके 18 प्लस एंड अबव कैटेगरी के लिए वैक्सीन सर्च कर रहे हैं स्लॉट बुकिंग के लिए, चाहे वो फ्री वैक्सीन हो या पेड वैक्सीन हो, हम लोगों को कुछ नहीं मिल रहा है.
I have registered for the vaccination. It's almost been a month. Still now I haven't got any slot for the vaccination.
Young working people who step out every day, use public transport, are struggling to get their jabs as supplies of vaccines are limited. For many, it's hitting business directly, like Ashima Rangi, who's a Pilates trainer. Her clients are staying away till they are vaccinated.
So unless everybody is vaccinated completely, nobody is going to feel comfortable coming to, say, a gym or a Pilates studio. The delay is definitely causing problems in the industry and in my business, because people are hesitant. You know, people are waiting for their turn, people are waiting to get their second doses, so they're missing classes. So yeah, there's definitely that problem in the business, yeah.
Nisha Eliza has also been trying to get the vaccine but has had no luck. She's been staying home to protect her elderly mother.
Having an elderly person in the house, it becomes all the more important for us to, you know, do whatever we can to safeguard ourselves. The vaccine is what has been told to us is going to protect us, so it's very important. Having an elderly person in the house especially is very important for us to get vaccinated.
Healthcare experts say getting vaccines has been a challenge, and that's why many vaccination centers are shut. Some hospitals like Woodlands are among the few vaccinating the 18 to 44 age group, and they say they will scale up as more doses arrive. Woodlands, being an early mover, has supplies of Covaxin and Covishield and is also hoping to get supplies of the Sputnik vaccine soon.
I think we need to really add on a lot many more vaccination centers, and the manufacturers have been very clear. They said that it is only to the hospitals they are going to supply. So it is a question of the, the supply coming to the hospital, and hospitals are all ready. We have an association of hospitals for Eastern India, and I'm part of, I'm a past president. So we are very in touch with the other hospital heads, and they all are ready. It's a question of, the vaccines reaching them, and they start. It's sad that we have been, late by almost a month, and we don't really know when the supplies are coming.
Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee says given that Bengal is one of the most populous states in the country, the process is a challenge as compared to other states. She is pushing for 3 crore doses for Bengal. The government says it is focusing on groups that could act as spreaders like auto drivers, rickshaw pullers, bus drivers, hawkers, vegetable sellers, fishmongers and frontline workers including the press are being vaccinated.
আমরা প্রায় 1.4 crores লোককে অলরেডি কোভিড ভ্যাকসিনেশন অলরেডি আমরা দিয়েছি এবং আমরা প্রায়োরিটি দিচ্ছি যারা বেশি স্প্রেড করে, বিশেষ করে গরিব মানুষ যারা কাজের মধ্যে থাকে। এবং আমরা আবার আবেদন করব যে আমাদের ভ্যাকসিনেশনটা দেওয়া হোক, যেটা আমরা 3 কোটি চেয়েছি। 1 কোটি আমরা প্রাইভেটকে দেব আর 2 কোটি আমরা নিজেরা করব। এই 2 কোটি যদি আমরা করে ফেলতে পারি তাহলে আমাদের পপুলেশনের 18 বছরের নিচে যে পপুলেশন আছে তার 80% আমরা কভার করতে পারব।
For those who managed to get their doses, it's a relief, even though it's been a multi-city effort at times.
Me staying in Kharagpur, my friend working in Bangalore, he helped me get registered. I came to Calcutta and got myself vaccinated. A long process, but yeah, I'm feeling safe right now.
It's not been the greatest experience in terms of booking a slot, because a lot of us have been struggling since the slot booking opened a month back. But I really hope that everyone really beats this pandemic, and this horror, this needs to end.
Every night, me and my wife, would just glued to our phone. We were glued to our phone for 2 hours continuously with Arogya Setu app opened, and we would just give pin codes of all, wherever centers we knew. So luckily we got the appointment for Woodlands.
Bengal needs to scale up vaccinations in a massive way to prevent a third wave, but that depends on supply, on which there is no clarity yet. In Kolkata, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
Well, it's time for us to slip into a short break. More news on the other side. Stay with us. Welcome back. While the situation in Delhi has greatly improved, and this is after the peak had settled. And now in an order issued yesterday evening, the DDMA said starting from Monday, relaxation has been given for operations of manufacturing and production units within closed premises in approved industrial areas. Additionally, it said that construction activities within their work sites will also be allowed outside containment zones during the curfew period. Delhi reported less than 1,000 cases of COVID. Well, let's go across to Sonakshi now for more on this story. And Sonakshi, Sonakshi, so finally, some easing has been allowed, especially for this commercial activities. How will it work? Is there an issue also given that public transport isn't available?
Well, Gargi, actually for now, what we are being made to understand is that the Delhi Chief Minister last week, as we all know, had announced that Delhi will gradually start unlocking. Remember, Delhi went into a lockdown on the 19th of April. That's about 6 weeks of lockdown in the national capital. And because of the cases that have seen a significant dip, not just the cases, but also in COVID deaths, the national capital will slowly and gradually start to unlock. Keeping that in mind, the Delhi Chief Minister had clearly said that the people from the most lowest sections of the society and the lowest stratas of the society are the ones who suffer in such situations if it persists any longer, which is why he decided to make it available, the construction activities and factories to open up. And then, of course, when it comes to the point of your question of travels, there will be a slight relaxation, but we're only expecting to hear more from the Delhi government in today and tomorrow's time, where they will tell us that if there could be a slight more relaxation when it comes to public transport. Remember, the Delhi Chief Minister had announced that even Delhi metro services will be remain shut when he had announced an extension of the lockdown a couple of weeks ago. So yes, starting today, Delhi will see partial unlocking, and every week is what he says we'll see some sort of relaxation based on how Delhi performs even in the days to come when it comes to the COVID situation. Remember, he has very clearly said that if the situation doesn't look under control, the whole process of the gradual unlocking will be put on a halt.
All right, Sonakshi, thanks so much for joining us with those details. So that unlocking process finally beginning in Delhi. So while the situation in the national capital has greatly improved over the last month, but the trauma of the COVID second wave continues, and to remind us to remain alert, here's a look at what it was like at crematorium during the peak of the second wave, scenes we could never have imagined in the national capital.
People did not get oxygen cylinders. They did not get beds in the hospitals. Hospitals were house full. They died gasping for breath. And when their family members got them here at crematoriums were also full.
As the crisis worsened, this drone image of an overflowing crematorium in Simapuri in East Delhi became the terrible defining image of Delhi's descent into COVID hell. A crisis so acute that new cremation platforms came up in a public park abutting a crematorium in Sarai Kale Khan in South Delhi. At another major crematorium in Ghazipur in East Delhi, grieving families had to negotiate the logistics of loss.
सुबह 4 बजे देखा, फिर उसके बाद फिर 6 बजे आया, फिर अब रात को अभी शाम को भी 9 साढ़े 9 बजे लेके आए।
अच्छा, अब आपको क्या लगता है कितने बजे होगा?
हम अभी 3:30 बजे का टाइम दे रहे हैं। 3:30 बजे? एक साथ पूरा दिन लग गया।
A first-hand account of that terrible time from a crematorium worker.
बाकी हम लोग पास में संस्कार कराएं, जगह कम थी, तो जगह का देखते हुए हम लोगों ने पास में जो संस्कार कराए, एक साथ में 100 चिताओं की अग्नि देते थे। तो जी किसी में आग पकड़ गई तो वो जल गई, कई बार लकड़ी है आग बुझ जाती थी तो उसको हम जलाते थे। जलाते समय चिंगारी है, पतिंगा है, ये सब उड़ के हमारे कपड़ों में भी आ जाता था, कपड़े भी जल जाते थे, फिर भी हम लोग अपनी मेहनत से हटे नहीं।
On the 28th of April, we filmed this horrifying moment at Pitampura in northwest Delhi. 48-year-old Pritam Singh, along with his friend, attempting to lower the dead body of A.N. Yadav, a 70-year-old man who died of COVID. Mr. Yadav's only family present was his wife, also stricken with COVID. Despite Pritam's appeals, no one came forward, just watched silently. This week we met Pritam outside the now abandoned home of the Yadavs.
पर अनफॉर्चुनेटली ये हुआ कि 4 दिन बाद उन्हीं की वाइफ की डेथ होती है
और उनके ना उनको ऑक्सीजन मिली और ना उनको बेड मिला और उन्हीं की भी यहाँ घर में ही तड़प तड़प के डेथ होती है। यहाँ
यानी हस्बैंड यादव जी और मिसेस यादव
दोनों की डेथ होगी और घर में इस टाइम पे लॉक लगा हुआ है, यहाँ पे कोई भी नहीं है यहाँ पे।
He spoke of how, with no government in sight, he and his friend Devender had to step in. They claim to have cremated over 470 bodies in 45 days.
एक 14 साल का बच्चा हमारे को कॉल आई कि उनके माताजी की डेथ हो गई है, तो हम लोग वहाँ उनके घर बॉडी लेने गए तो वो बच्चा अकेला ही था। तो उसके फादर ने बोला कि भाई हमने बहुत सारे लोगों को फ़ोन किया, रिलेटिव्स को फ़ोन किया, उसको खुद को भी, उनके फादर को भी कोविड था, तो उनकी हेल्प के लिए कोई ना उनका रिश्तेदार ना कोई उनका आसी पड़ोसी आया। तो हम बच्चे के साथ शमशान घाट आ गए। तो जब वहाँ जाके देखा तो बच्चे को तो बेचारे को ये भी नहीं पता कि यहाँ पैसे लगते हैं संस्कार के लिए। तो शॉकिंग था, मेरे रोंगटे अभी भी खड़े हैं। तो बच्चे ने कॉल किया किसी को पैसों के लिए, तो हमारे वॉलंटियर ने सुन लिया कि पैसों के लिए कॉल कर रहा है बच्चा। तो मेरे को आके बताया कि वीर जी ऐसे ऐसे, वो बच्चा पैसे भी नहीं है उसके पास। तो मैंने उनको वॉलंटियर को बोला कि बच्चे को ले आओ आप अंदर। तो हम अपने से यूनाइटेड सिक्स जो सेवा निभा रहा है कि जिसके पास परमिशन के लिए भी पैसे नहीं है तो हम लोग उनकी ऐसे भी मदद करते हैं। ऐसे बहुत सारे इंसिडेंट हमारे साथ हुए। ठीक एक हफ्ते के बाद फिर से वही रिक्रिएट सीन होता है, उसके फादर की भी डेथ हो जाती है। अब हमारे पैरों से ज़मीन निकल जाती है।
In other news now, India has sent the deportation documents for Mehul Choksi, the diamond merchant wanted for the PNB loan scam, to Dominica. Mehul Choksi is currently in the Caribbean island nation where he was caught allegedly while trying to flee from Cuba from Antigua. The 62-year-old has been living in Antigua since 2018 after obtaining citizenship there. But sources in India's investigating agency, the CBI and Enforcement Directorate, say only case files have been sent to Dominica. The Foreign Ministry is coordinating. Well, let's go across to Neeta for more on this. And Neeta, so India really pushing to deport Mehul Choksi directly from Dominica to India, though the question remains of his citizenship and how he did attain the citizenship of Antigua.
Yes, Gargi, you know, there are two strategies which the India is working on. First is that they want Mehul Choksi to deport it directly from Dominica because they feel that there is a chance that he can be deported directly, because if they are able to prove to the court there that he was a bona fide citizen of India, and there are cases going against him, because in India also we have seen in Bombay outside his house there are many notices pasted outside his house. So India is obviously banking on the fact that he is an Indian fugitive and he is wanted in India by Indian law. So that is why these files and these papers were sent to Dominica, where the court is going to hear on next date of hearing, that is on June 2nd. India is going to, stress on that fact that he's an Indian fugitive and he is wanted back. But the second catch is, if the court decides that he is again sent back to Antigua, then the process is obviously going to take much, much longer, because then India has to extradite him back. And we know, as far as India's case history is concerned, extradition is not a strong point of India. We are still fighting extradition of Mr. Vijay Mallya, Mr. Nirav Modi, amongst so many others. Even MEA, in a reply to the parliament, had said, compared to extraditions, India has got more success in deportation of, offenders, economic offenders. So India, that is why, is wanting that Mehul Choksi should be deported back directly from Dominica, and they are making all kinds of diplomatic efforts backed by the legal proof that they have generated or they have gathered over the years to prove that he was a bona fide citizen of India and he is wanted back in India for economic fraud. Gargi?
All right, Neeta, thanks so much for joining us with those details. In other news now, the Delhi police are considering invoking the Maharashtra Control of Organised Crime Act, that's MCOCA, against Olympic medalist Sushil Kumar for his involvement with dreaded gangsters of Delhi, Haryana and Rajasthan. The police say that Sushil Kumar was allegedly getting monetary gains from these activities of the gangsters. He was also involved with them since 2018. Remember, they arrested Sushil Kumar last week and his associate Ajay for the murder of a 23-year-old wrestler. Well, let's go across to Mukesh Sengar now for more details. And Mukesh, more and more information emerging about Sushil Kumar. It's absolutely shocking that he was involved in such activities.
देखिए, बिल्कुल सुशील कुमार की जो मुश्किलें हैं वो और बढ़ने वाली हैं, क्योंकि दिल्ली पुलिस अब उन पर मकोका लगाने की तैयारी कर रही है। दरअसल दिल्ली पुलिस को ये जानकारी मिली है कि सुशील कुमार 2018 से जो दिल्ली और हरियाणा के बड़े गैंगस्टर हैं, इनके लगातार संपर्क में थे, इनके लिए काम कर रहे थे और ये गैंगस्टर को टारगेट जो होते थे वो देते थे। यानी कि जो बड़े लोग हैं, जो लोग हैसियत वाले हैं, उनकी जानकारी सुशील कुमार गैंगस्टरों को देते थे। जो दो बड़े गैंगस्टर हैं, एक का नाम नीरज बबाना है और दूसरा जो है संदीप काला है। इनसे काफी गहरी दोस्ती थी सुशील कुमार की, और जितने भी टोल नाके हैं दिल्ली के आसपास, उनमें जो टोल टैक्स वसूलने का काम था वो सुशील कुमार इन्हीं गैंगस्टर के साथ मिलकर करते थे। इसके साथ में जो प्रॉपर्टीज हैं उन पर कब्जा जमाना या लोगों को धमकाना, एक्सटॉर्शन करना, ये काम भी सुशील कुमार के जरिए होता था। तो दिल्ली पुलिस को कुछ इस तरह की जानकारियां मिली हैं, उसी के बेसिस पर अब दिल्ली पुलिस बहुत जल्दी सुशील को मकोका में बुक कर सकती है। मकोका में 6 महीने तक पुलिस चार्जशीट कर सकती है और मकोका लगने के बाद सुशील कुमार को बहुत जल्दी बेल नहीं मिल पाएगी, जमानत मिलना मुश्किल होता है। तो काफी ज्यादा सुशील कुमार की जो मुश्किलें हैं वो बढ़ने वाली हैं और उनकी नई नई जो बातें हैं वो अब सामने आ रही कि किस तरह से वो गैंगस्टर के साथ में लगातार मिलकर क्रिमिनल एक्टिविटी में इन्वॉल्व थे। जी।
All right. Thanks so much, Mukesh, for joining us with those details. What a fall from grace. So now it's emerging that Sushil Kumar was involved with gangsters and mafia and involved in several illegal activities. The Delhi police now wanting to put Makoka against him. News from Madhya Pradesh now, where a 26-year-old man was beaten to death by 5 others over a land dispute for cattle grazing. This was in the Ujjain district. This horrific incident was captured on a mobile phone. Govind, the young man, was kicked, punched and thrashed with sticks by the group of men till he fell unconscious. He was then dropped outside his house by the accused. Well, let's go across now to Anurag for more. And Anurag, absolutely horrific. In broad daylight, people are passing by as well. The way these men are beating this, and this was all related to some cattle grazing issue.
Yes, Gargi, this is related to the cattle grazing issue, and one of the accused, Ashu Dagar, called Govind at his house under the pretext of, that they will talk something on this issue, and they were joined by other accused who then thrashed him as per the statement given by Suraj, who is a friend of Govind. When Govind appeared to have fainted, you can see in those visuals, the men took him on bike and dropped him outside his house. His family took him to a local hospital. From there, they went to one private hospital, and from there, he was referred to Indore, around 50 kilometers away from Ujjain, and he died during the treatment. You can see in those visuals, no one came to stop the public beating, and 4 of the accused have been arrested, and the police are looking for more because as per the statement of Suraj, who is also the eyewitness, there were more people involved in beating Govind.
Welcome back. Now, the final decision on conducting Class 12 board examinations will be taken by the 1st of June. In the meantime, students are facing uncertainty and anxiety regarding their next step. NDTV spoke to some students ahead of the centre's announcement.
सीबीएसई की 12वीं के एग्जाम को लेकर अभी भी संशय बना हुआ और इसका ऐलान 1 जून को होगा कि आखिर एग्जाम जो होता है कब और कैसे हो। लेकिन छात्रों के बीच परेशानी बनी हुई है। हमारे साथ कुछ ऐसे छात्र हैं जो 12वीं के एग्जाम देने जा रहे हैं। क्या आपको लग रहा है?
मुझे लगता है एग्जाम शुड बी कैंसल्ड और इंटरनल असेसमेंट के बेसिस पे मार्क्स देना चाहिए, क्योंकि एक तो अगर ऑफलाइन एग्जाम्स होंगे तो इन्फेक्शन के काफ़ी ज़्यादा चांसेस है और हम फिर से रिस्क नहीं ले सकते। 3rd वेव भी आ सकती है, अभी कुछ कह नहीं सकते हैं।
एग्ज़ाम कैंसिल नहीं होना चाहिए, ऑफलाइन और अभी हो जाना चाहिए, क्योंकि बाद में और भी कॉलेजेस के लिए मतलब अप्लाई करना है, सो इसलिए हो जाने चाहिए अभी जल्दी
एग्जाम्स हो जाने चाहिए ऑफलाइन मोड में। हम मतलब दूसरे तरीक़ों से भी कर सकते हैं, लाइक इंस्टेड ऑफ कॉलिंग चिल्ड्रन टू अदर सेंटर्स, वी कैन कॉल द टीचर्स टू आवर सेंटर अपने रिस्पेक्टिव स्कूल्स में, और उससे हम उनको थोड़ा कंटामिनेशन बच सकता है।
मैं भी यही चाहूँगा कैंसिल हो जाए, क्योंकि पूरी ये साल ऑनलाइन हुआ है, ऑनलाइन से ज़्यादा कोई वो होता नहीं है फ़ायदा।
Conducting the exams could lead to a huge explosion in the number of cases of COVID. तो इसलिए मेरे हिसाब से एग्ज़ाम्स कैंसिल हो जाने चाहिए। अगर बच्चे चाहते हैं कि उनका इवैल्यूएशन प्रोसेस सही हो तो फिर वो कॉलेजेस शुड डिटरमिन कि उनको कैसे एडमिशन लेना, बिकॉज 12th के मार्क्स का जो बेसिक यूज़ होता है वो है टू गेट एडमिशन इन द डिजायर्ड कॉलेजेस।
स्टूडेंट्स की भी मेंटल हेल्थ पे बहुत इफेक्ट पड़ता है। लाइक बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स बहुत पहले से प्रिपेयर करके बैठे हैं, दे आर रेडी, एंड जितना डिले होता जा रहा है तो सीरियसनेस पे भी बहुत इफेक्ट पड़ रहा है। स्टूडेंट्स आर टेकिंग इट लाइटली। सो मतलब जो एग्जाम का जो सीरियसनेस और जो पूरा एरिना होता था वो सब बहुत डिले करते जा रहे हैं। सो यार इट्स अफेक्टिंग अस अ लॉट।
आपको भी ऐसा लग रहा है कई तरह की एंग्जाइटी पैदा हो रहा है, क्या होगा क्या नहीं?
बहुत ज़्यादा मेंटल स्ट्रेस, एंग्जाइटी से काफ़ी। अभी तो उन्हें मार्च में कर लेना चाहिए था एग्ज़ाम, जो नॉर्मल हमारा शेड्यूल होता है उसके हिसाब से, बट डिले हो गया, उस वजह से काफ़ी ज़्यादा इफेक्ट पड़ा है। और हम ऐसा होना चाहिए कॉलेज जो एंट्रेंसेस लेते हैं उनको थोड़ा और अच्छे से एंट्रेंस टेस्ट लेना चाहिए, जिस वो मतलब बता सके कि हाँ ऐसे एडमिशन मिले।
लेकिन कोरोना को लेकर डर है कि अगर एग्जाम अगर होता है सेंटर पर अगर जाती हैं तो?
हाँ डर तो है, बट फिर भी जितना जल्दी एग्ज़ाम हो जाए उतना अच्छा है, क्योंकि बहुत ज़्यादा प्रेशर पड़ रहा है, क्योंकि अभी कॉलेजेस के लिए अप्लाई करना है, सो इसलिए अभी हो जाए तो ज़्यादा अच्छा।
तो जाहिर सी बात है कि इन छात्रों में कई तरह के संशय है और उनको लगता है कि जो भी फैसला सरकार को लेना है जल्द से जल्द फैसला ले।
And finally, in India's second wave, thousands have died inside sealed hospital wards and ICUs. These deaths come with multiple layers of trauma because of COVID isolation rules. Patients can't meet their families or loved ones and vice versa. For the critically ill, it's healthcare workers, doctors and nurses who are with them in their traumatic last moments. NDTV's Mariam Alvi reports from one hospital in Delhi where doctors open up about the agonizing responsibility of breaking the awful news to the families and the emotional costs at stake.
We were really sorry. We tried our best. We put him on ventilator, but we couldn't make it. I'm so sorry.
Halfway through the interview, Dr. Vikram Shah, the head of the critical care department at Delhi's Vimhans Hospital, breaks down.
Doctor, just
He was telling us how he lost a 42-year-old patient, a husband, a father of an 8-year-old to COVID, when grief overcame him.
And it happened with so many patients. I still remember Mr. Divya Prakash was there. He was saying, I am having a small child, I am having a daughter. We couldn't make that. We were really sorry. We tried our best. We put him on ventilator, but we couldn't make it. His sister was there, she was just 42 years old. Daughter was 8 years old. And I have talked to his daughter also. I promised he will come back. His sister was a doctor in US. We couldn't make it. Whatever best possible was available. We have done everything. We have put him on ventilator also, but still we couldn't make it. We are really sorry. That time no one was there. His wife was there, but we have done video calls and all.
Dr. Shah, like the patient he lost, has an 8-year-old daughter too. The loss too feels close to home.
We are not getting sleep. We are not like in a mood to have to eat also. Sometimes we sleep like that because things comes in my mind also. It keeps a lot of fear also. If it happens, it can happen to us also. We are all the time inside with the COVID patients only. There's a lot of fear, but I am thankful to my family. They are supporting me. I am also having a 8-year-old daughter. She is saying I am proud of my father. I am sure your daughter is very proud of the work you are doing, doctor. Thank you.
In these ICUs, doctors have grappled with life and death every day for long before the pandemic. But this time, it has been different. 101 have died of the virus in the hospital since 25th March this year, a huge jump from last year.
But you have to do this on a everyday basis. You have to make those. Every day do you have to make a phone call? Every day we are calling, we are counseling. No, do you have to inform family members of passing away? We have to. Who else is there? We have to do. In and out, round the clock, we are there with them. Good thing also we tell that patients are improving, but it's really tough to tell them the bad news.
This doctor tells us of how, despite the risks, families insist on seeing their loved ones in their final moments.
Usha Jain patient was there in the ICU.
Usha Jain?
Yeah, his son requested multiple
How
times.
old was the patient?
Ma'am, around 46, 47 years old. Female was there, and she was initially on BiPAP support. Night 12:30, I informed son. He said, "Yeah, I'm downstairs." So before intubating, before putting her on ventilator, I want to just talk to my wife. I called him. He met him, and after intubation also, he was downstairs. He said, "Just show me once on video what you have done, how she is now." And
once the patient passed away,
yeah,
you again had to call the son?
Yeah. We informed him, ma'am.
He was here or?
He came, ma'am. He was at home. He came. We given a PPE to him. He has seen her and thanked us for our efforts. That much what we can do for him, we have done.
Okay.
They come here.
The officials at the hospital say that for the more critical patients, they do sometimes allow relatives to meet the patients if they request and have PPEs for them to use.
Like, is it one at a time, or do they need to take prior permission before?
Everyone is not allowed to go to the COVID areas, right? The only way, some of them who, they insist, they request, they plead, they show some aggression, because we understand that rightly their near ones and loved ones are admitted upstairs. So when there are repeated requests, we allow them to go to the floors.
Some, like Deepak Tiwari, were able to be with their loved ones when they breathed their last. He says his sister-in-law, admitted to the ICU for severe COVID, died in his arms.
How were you informed of your sister-in-law? Were you able to meet her one last time before?
Yeah, she left this word in my hand only at around 12:45 in the night. I was with her only, and they tried their best. They recovered her through CRP after they did the CRP for I think 40-45 minutes. She recovered, but immediately after 10 minutes there was another cardiac arrest, and we lost her.
What did they say, that she's not?
She's critical. They said she is critical, and if you can meet, you are allowed to meet.
The isolation and the stress of a COVID ICU can itself turn fatal.
I feel that it is the anxiety which killed her. I believe that it was her first admission in her lifetime, so she was not, I think, mentally strong enough to handle this admission process.
Dr. Anupama Singh is the head of internal medicine department at the hospital. She has just finished 7 hours of rounds with COVID patients.
But most of the support that patients derive, or the comfort,
the marks of her PPE still etched on her forehead. The toll of the second wave visible.
So the volume of loss that we've seen over the last year is probably cumulatively greater than the number of patients we've lost in the entire career. It's definitely. How long have you been a doctor for, ma'am? So 30 years. Wow. Plus. So in your cumulatively much more loss than in 30 years of private practice, yes. How was that been? Very traumatic. It's very traumatic. So while there is a lot of trauma for patients and for attendants, what people kind of don't understand that it's been very traumatic for doctors.
With camera person Xavier Thomas, this is Mariam Alavi for NDTV. Hello and welcome. You're watching Good Morning India. I'm Gargi Rawat. Our top story, asking people not to let their guard down. Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray has extended the restrictions imposed in the state by another 15 days. The Chief Minister said that the state saw a high number of COVID cases over the past few days, but added that the recovery rate of 92% was a good sign. He also said that while COVID cases are decreasing in the cities, rural areas of the state are seeing a spike. He also thanked people of the state for their determination in following restrictions imposed to stem the surge in cases.
अजूनही जी रुग्णसंख्या आहे ती एक 2-5 दिवसापूर्वीचा जर का आकडा पाहिला तर गेल्या लाटेमध्ये जी एक सर्वोच्च ज्याला आपण पीक म्हणतो ती जी संख्या होती तिच्या बरोबरीत आहे. आता थोडीशी कमी होते. म्हणजेच काय की अजूनही आपण म्हणावं तेवढं खाली आलेलो नाही. गेल्या वेळेला जे एक सर्वोच्च जे पीक ज्याला म्हणतो आपण जे गाठलं होतं आणि ते खालून वरती आलं होतं, यावेळेला ही जी संख्या आहे ती वरून खाली आलेली आहे. कुठे येणार का तर तिसरी लाट ही अशी काय तारीख सांगून येणार नाहीये. किती दिवसांनी येणार हे सुद्धा अनुमान आपल्याकडे नाही. हे संपूर्णपणे आपल्या वागणुकीवरती अवलंबून असणार आहे.
Well, let's go across to Purva now for more. And Purva, interesting, as he was talking about extending the lockdown another 15 days, he pointed out that that the level that you are at in Maharashtra is what it was like in the peak of the first wave, and also concerns about the spread in rural areas.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, that is the concern right now, that in Maharashtra, there are certain districts, especially the cities where the cases are going down consistently. But in rural Maharashtra, there are certain pockets where the cases are going up. And that is why, the blanket restrictions have been given for another 15 days. However, the Chief Minister also said that they will be taking stock district by district, and then, putting relaxation in certain districts and maybe tightening districts where there is higher positivity. So based on that, then the state government last night also released their new guidelines, where the districts where positivity is less than 10% and the occupancy of the total oxygen bed is less than 40%, those districts are going to see some relaxations, which means that the shops, the essential shops which were allowed to open from 7 a.m. until 11 a.m. now that is extended from 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. and even the non-essential shops, the district administration will take a call on that, but the non-essential shops will also be allowed to open from 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. So that is something that is a relief which is coming, because the retail association have been, the retail association has been telling the state government that, allow them to open the non-essential shops, because for past 2 months they have been closed. So that is somewhat of a relief for, the non-essential shops in the districts where the positivity is low. Also, as expected, the local trains, the religious places, they are all closed. But the government offices, now will be allowed to open at a 25%, capacity. Then the delivery of, non-essential via e-commerce is also allowed in those districts. However, the districts where there is a positivity of more than 20%, those districts are going to see tightened rules, which means the district borders are also going to be sealed. So it is all district-wise, but for next 15 days, these restrictions are going to be in place in Maharashtra.
All right, Purva, thanks so much for joining us with those details. And staying with news from Maharashtra and anticipating a third wave and the possibility that more children could be affected, rural Maharashtra has started preparing for a COVID ward for children. At the same time, Ahmednagar has seen 8,000 children getting affected in the month of May alone.
This is Maharashtra's Sangli area, where a COVID ward for kids is being prepared. Currently, there are 5 children being treated here, and the facility is being prepared for more patients.
तीसरी लहर का ख्याल रखते हुए हम लोगों को ध्यान में आ गया कि बच्चे संक्रमित होने लगे, तो बच्चों को उसमें से बाहर निकालने के लिए उनको कुछ अलग से दिया जाए कि उनको ना लगे कि वो कोरोना के वार्ड में है, कोरोना का ट्रीटमेंट ले रहे हैं. तो उस हिसाब से हम लोगों ने कोरोना वार्ड को पूरा का पूरा तब्दील कर दिया, जैसे कि वो किसी नर्सरी स्कूल में खड़े हुए हो या किसी प्ले ग्रुप के जो स्कूल्स रहते हैं तो उसमें खड़े हैं और वहाँ पे कुछ सीख रहे हैं.
Already there are alarm bells. In Ahmednagar, about 8,000 kids below the age of 18 are infected, and that's about 10% of the cases in the district. The district administration is meeting pediatricians to make sure that they are prepared for the third wave.
वैसे जो है कि 10% जो है कि वो बच्चे पॉजिटिव निकले, 8,000 के लगभग बच्चे पॉजिटिव आए.
सेकेंड वेव में देखा गया तो मेडिसिन का शॉर्टेज था, ऑक्सीजन का शॉर्टेज था, या बेड्स भी अवेलेबल नहीं थे. तो उस हिसाब से थर्ड वेव के बारे में सब काम किया जाएगा. ऐसे सबको मिलकर उसके बारे में आज बातचीत हुई है और निश्चित रूप से थर्ड वेव के लिए नगर एक अच्छी तरीके से काम करेगा.
The state government does not want to take any chances. They are expecting a third wave at the end of July or in early August, and so the government has about 2 months to prepare. With Purva Chitnis in Mumbai, Bureau Report, NDTV.
Now, Telangana is among the 3 states where daily relaxations have been increased despite the lockdown continuing for now. At a cabinet meeting, the state government resolved to continue the Telangana lockdown for another 10 days. And daily relaxations, however, have been extended now from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. News now from Delhi, and in an order issued yesterday evening by the Delhi Disaster Management Authority, it said that starting from Monday, relaxation has been given for the operations of manufacturing and production units within closed premises in approved industrial areas. Additionally, it said that construction activities within their work sites will also be allowed outside the containment zones during the curfew period. Delhi reported less than 1,000 cases of COVID yesterday. Well, let's go across to Sonakshi now for more. And Sonakshi, so gradually Delhi moving to easing of restrictions and very importantly allowing this sort of manufacturing operations, etc., to continue. What are the challenges that these units will face?
Well, Gargi, as we know, the national capital has been in a state of a lockdown for the last 6 weeks, and it was only last week that the Chief Minister had announced an extension of the lockdown once again till the 31st of May, which is today. Now, we know that the lockdown was supposed to be ended today, but this lockdown too was extended till the 7th of June. So, Delhi will continue to be in a state of lockdown till the 7th of June, but with certain exemptions and relaxations on these curbs. Construction activities will be resuming. We are expecting to see construction activity to resume from today. We will also be expecting to see factories to start reopening after almost a 6-week lockdown in the national capital. The challenges, however, that these people will be facing, remember the Delhi Chief Minister had clearly pointed out that these are the people, the strata belonging to the strata of the society which suffer the most when it comes to a situation of a lockdown-like state. So what we are expecting, the challenges that they will be facing is that with factories opening, although shops will remain closed. Now there are several shop traders and business owners that will continue to remain shut. So factory people working in factories may face it a slight challenge to resume work. But that being said, this is exactly how Delhi will continue to unlock and gradually ease its state of lockdown starting today. The Delhi Chief Minister had clearly told that this will be on a weekly basis. So every week we could see possible relaxation of curbs. But that being said, if the COVID situation does not come under control, the Delhi government has made it very clear that even this process of unlocking may be considered to be on a hold.
All right, Sonakshi, thanks so much for joining us with that. So relaxations in Delhi, relaxations in Telangana and relaxations in Uttar Pradesh as well, as the government there has decided to relax certain restrictions in districts that have less than 600 active COVID cases starting from tomorrow. Alok, take us through these details. What has been announced by the government?
Well, so basically what has been announced is that all districts, as you pointed out, who have 600 cases, active cases, lesser than 600 active cases, will see a phased reopening from tomorrow, from the 1st of June. And also the fact that, the major cities at the moment will not see a reopening because Lucknow, Varanasi, Saharanpur, Meerut, Noida, all of these bigger centers still have 600 or more active cases. I believe there are 19 districts where the caseload is more than 600 active cases. So there will be no relaxations in those places. But from tomorrow, you will have in other areas a gradual reopening. For instance, offices will be allowed, private offices will also be allowed. There will be an encouragement, so to say, for private offices to have more work from home situations, but they will be allowed to function. Restaurants can open, but not for dine-in. They can open for orders, so they can give out orders. Markets can open between 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And schools, educational institutions, malls, gyms, these things will continue to remain shut. So it's a gradual reopening. The government in the last some time has claimed that their active caseload and their new fresh cases, each day they are coming down. Yesterday, the government's figures say that there were just about 1,900 fresh COVID cases across across Uttar Pradesh, and there were less than 150 deaths. So they are claiming that this wave is kind of ebbing in the state. Of course, many say that the data that is being presented is not fully accurate, but this is what the government says, and that is why they have gone in for this reopening.
All right, Alok, thanks so much for joining us with those details. So the process of easing restrictions there in Uttar Pradesh. News now from Assam, where a horrific incident which has been reported a little late. A woman belonging from a tribal community that works in tea gardens was allegedly raped by two miscreants in the Charadev district of Assam while she and her daughter were returning from a rural COVID care center home after testing negative for COVID. The victim's family alleged that the rural COVID care center authorities did not provide them with any kind of vehicle to drop them back home despite the COVID curfew at the time when the incident took place, and they had to walk about 25 kilometers. Sources say the woman and her daughter were returning from the Sapakhati Model Hospital, which had been turned into a COVID care center, and on the way back, two men allegedly kidnapped the woman and took her to a nearby tea garden and raped her.
কলং মই গাড়ী দিবি নেকি কলং বাইরে গাড়ী ইয়াত নাই নহয় কলে কত পৰ গাড়ী দিম কলে নহলে ইয়াতে থাকিম কলো নেলাগে থাকিবলৈ যা তহতি খুচকাৰি গলে আহোতে আহোতে বহাটত দুটা লৰা ওলালে ঘৰৰ চালুং দুটা লৰা আছিলে মই দৌৰি গুচি গলো মা কলে মোক কৈছে জুনিতা লৰা কলে মই গলো মই গুচি যাম কলো আৰু দৌৰি আহিলো কি কয় নাগা কাটা তাত সোমালো মানুহকেইটা মাতিলে বিডিপিকেইটা আহি পিনে কলে মই বিচাৰিব যাম কলে বিচাৰিব আহিলো নেপালোঙে মাক যত পুলিচক ফোন কৰিলে পুলিচ আহিলে এটি বিচাৰিলে আৰু ওলালে
দুটাই
নহয় এটি দুটাই কৰিলে হবে
এজন মানুহ যদি পজিটিভ হ'ব তেওঁ তৎকালীনভাৱে কোভিড কেয়াৰ চেণ্টাৰ বা হস্পিটাল বা কাৰোবাক যদি আমি হোম আইসোলেশন দিছো তেওঁ এই গাড়ী মানে নিব লগা গাড়ী প্ৰস্তুত হৈ থাকিব নিশ্চয় আজিৰ পৰা অহাকালিৰ পৰা ডিচিয়ে গাড়ী ভাড়া ল'ব এম্বুলেন্সৰ উপৰিও যিসকলক এম্বুলেন্সত দিব লাগে এম্বুলেন্সত দিব আৰু নিগেটিভ হোৱা লোকক হস্পিটালৰ পৰা ইয়াৰ পিছত নি ঘৰত থৈ আহিব
Well, let's go across to NDTV's Ratnadeep now for more. And Ratnadeep, a very, very disturbing case. When did it take place? And just imagine, because of the lockdown, this woman couldn't access any kind of local transport, the authorities refusing, and they had to walk 25 kilometers home.
That's right. In fact, what we are picking up from police sources is that this incident might have happened on the 27th of May, and only the case got registered on 29th of May. The police says that they are looking out for the possible suspect because even the victim could not give them much details. The suspect seems to be not known to the victim. Also, the fact that there are the issue is that here this entire family were tested positive, and first they were at home isolation. Later, the condition of the parents of the daughter of the victim, the father and the mother, they worsened. So the entire family was shifted to this Sapakhati Model Hospital, which is a rural hospital which has a COVID facility, and there they got treated. In fact, the father of the in the family he tested negative first, and he was released earlier than the mother and the daughter. Later, when the mother and the daughter tested negative, they were released. So, but the time when they were released, there was this rural curfew, COVID curfew going on, and therefore they had requested. That's what they are alleging, that they had requested the hospital authorities that they should be dropped, but the hospital authorities denied, saying that they don't have a vehicle, and they were asked to walk. And maybe because there was this rural curfew, people were inside. There was no vehicle on the road, and the miscreants must have taken advantage of that situation. So that's how perhaps the incident has taken place. Police is investigating it. The medical reports of the victim would ascertain whether, in the sense that now at this moment this is a case of alleged rape, and police is awaiting the medical report. But what is important here is that during curfew hours, the hospital authorities actually allowed this patient who have been treated for COVID, who will be otherwise also weak, and it would be difficult for them to walk a distance of 25-30 odd kilometers, but the medical authorities allowed them to go of their own on foot.
All right, Ratnadeep, thanks so much for joining us with those details. So a very, very disturbing case. A woman forced to walk home after testing negative at the hospital and is allegedly raped. News now from Madhya Pradesh, where there's another horrific case. A 26-year-old man was beaten to death in broad daylight by 5 other people over a land dispute for cattle grazing. This was in the Ujjain district. Just take a look at how ruthlessly those men are beating this 26-year-old. The horrific incident captured on a mobile video. Govind was kicked, punched and thrashed with sticks till he fell unconscious, and then he was just dumped outside his house by the accused. Let's go across to Anurag for more details. And Anurag, absolutely horrific. The way they're just beating him, and especially now that we know that he later died, they then take him on a motorcycle and just dump him outside his house.
Yes, Gargi. One of the accused, Ashu Dagar, called Govind at his house under the pretext of, a harmless talk. They were joined by other accused who then thrashed him. And when Govind appeared to have fainted, as you can see in those visuals, the man took him on a motorcycle and dropped him outside his house. The family took him to a local hospital and then to a private hospital there in Ujjain also. And from there, he was referred to Indore. But he died during treatment. You can see in those visuals, no one came to stop the public beating. And 4 of the accused have been arrested. And the police are looking for more because the eyewitness, also a friend of Govind, Suraj, has said in his statement that more people were involved in beating Govind. And this is all just for a land dispute over cattle grazing in Ujjain. Gargi?
All right, Anurag, thanks so much for joining us with those details. So 4 people have been arrested. The Delhi police are now considering invoking the Maharashtra Control of Organised Crime Act, that's MCOCA, against Olympic medalist Sushil Kumar for his involvement with dreaded gangsters of Delhi, Haryana and Rajasthan. Now, the police say that Sushil Kumar was allegedly getting monetary gains from activities of these gangsters and that he was involved with them since 2018, but at that time there was not enough evidence against him. Delhi police special cell had arrested the Olympic medalist and his associate from Delhi last week for the murder of a 23-year-old wrestler. With that, time for us to slip into a short break. Coming up on the other side, GDP numbers expected this evening. We'll give you all the details. Welcome back. Well, let's take a look at the GDP expectations. Later today, the GDP numbers this evening will be released. Now, the economy may have grown in January-March quarter of the financial year 2020-2021, according to estimates by leading rating agencies and economists. So these are the estimates for that particular quarter, and the fourth quarter GDP seen in the range of 0.5 to 2.3%. The economy may record and contraction between 7 to 8% is what is estimated in this entire fiscal year. And the RBI has retained its GDP growth projection at 10.5% for the current fiscal. So let's take a look at some of the growth expectations that have already been projected. And the SBI has said 1.3% for this quarter, fourth quarter. CARE Ratings has said 1.2%, while ICRA has said 2%, and the India Ratings and Research have said 0.6%. This is for the fourth quarter, as we mentioned, and those numbers will be announced later today evening. Let's take a look at the GDP growth expectations for this entire financial year, and it's looking rather dismal, as you can see there. Minus 7.3% is what the SBI has projected. CARE Ratings has said minus 7.5%, and ICRA has said that it's a 7.3%, while India Ratings and Research have said minus 7.5%. So all of them here are in the negative, and this is the estimate for this particular fiscal year. So let's now take a look at something that really impacts our economy, and that of course is the monsoon that is expected soon, but the monsoon is late. Now here you can see these red lines, and this is when the monsoon was, when it's a normal monsoon, and by the 1st of June the monsoon is expected to be around here. But in actuality, in the green lines, if you take a look, this is where the monsoon is currently at. So the monsoon is coming in a little later, and right now this is where the monsoon winds are, and they will be hitting Kerala but a little late. So that is the estimate. Usually by the 1st of June, the monsoon hits the coastline of Kerala. However, it is a little late there. As you can see, the actual situation is this green lines over here. So the monsoon is delayed by 2 days. The onset over Kerala is likely to take place now on the 3rd of June rather than the 1st of June is when it was expected. And the Met Department has said southwesterly winds could strengthen further and gradually from June 1st. So the monsoon is delayed by 2 days, and it's expected to hit the Kerala coastline by the 3rd of June. With that, time for us to slip into a short break. More on the other side. It's time now for a special campaign, Vaccinate India, in partnership with Google, and we're discussing questions that you may have about the vaccines. We're joined by Professor and Dr. K.K. Seth, a Padma Shri awardee, Chairman and Managing Director, Delhi Heart and Lung Institute. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us this morning to discuss the vaccines. First and foremost, a question we get very often is, are COVID vaccines effective? What would you say to that?
Yes, there should not be an iota of doubt that the corona vaccines are effective. And we have sufficient data from all across the world that has shown their safety and efficacy in a very, very fast manner. So nobody should have any hesitation as far as taking the vaccine is concerned.
Right. So, Doctor, when we say effective, if you could also explain, how each of the vaccines we're told one is 90% efficacious, one is 70% efficacious, and what this actually means and what the WHO has prescribed.
You see, the efficacy of a vaccine means that when you actually conduct the trials, you check the level of antibodies that are made in the recipients. And most of these recipients are volunteers. And actually, the published data with most vaccines, where it was tested with antibody testing in the blood, said that almost all the vaccines are more than 75% effective, as high as up to 90-95% efficacy has been shown. There is slight variation between different vaccines, but I think as far as the clinical applicability of these things is concerned, that is insignificant. And one should not be running after these numbers to say that one vaccine is better than the other. They are all effective, and whatever is available to us should be administered to people, because at this time our aim is not to make a competition between 1 or 2 or 3 percentage points between different vaccines, but to vaccinate as much of the population as possible so that we are able to protect them against occurrence of infection.
That's right. And in fact, many of you doctors and experts say the best vaccine is the one that you can access, and that's the one that's available to you. So just go ahead and take that vaccine. So, Doctor, even after you get vaccinated, however, you have to keep following, COVID protocols. And we have seen certain breakthrough cases in which people do get COVID even after getting the vaccine. And we get many questions regarding that. So it comes back to the question of vaccine effectiveness. If you could just explain to our viewers.
Absolutely. This is critical to the success following the COVID protocols. Now, as you know, the 2 doses of the vaccine have to be given. And the first dose will create sufficient immunity only in about maybe a little more than half the people. So one has to be able to understand this, that when you have had your first dose, you are not completely protective. Not only that, it takes time for the antibodies to develop in the system, and when you take the second dose, only then the robust response of antibodies starts coming. But even that, will take maybe 6 to 8 weeks time to get the maximum result. So between the first and the second doses, you are still vulnerable very significantly. After the second dose, we have seen some people getting infected maybe 5 or 7 days after the second dose, and they start blaming, okay, this vaccine is not working and this and that. Now, that is not a correct allegation because you haven't given sufficient time for the vaccine to, get effective. You got yourself exposed somewhere, and then you have contracted disease. Now, the other thing is that as time goes by, after you have had your second, the robustness of the response in the body, the ability of the body to respond more powerfully to an insult with a virus keeps on increasing. And more is the time, second dose, more are the chances that you get protected. But you must understand that no vaccine in the world is 100% protective. And there have been, even on healthcare workers, they have the maximum exposure to these patients, that some people can get infected even after the second dose. However, the good thing about this is that in large majority of those who get the reinfection, if at all by luck.
Right. So, Doctor, in fact, a related question that we also get is, are COVID vaccines safe?
Yes, COVID vaccines are absolutely safe. There is a very minor incidence of side effects which is there with any medicine that we take. Allergic reactions are very, very uncommon. In fact, we have been vaccinating people now for almost 2-3 months and we haven't seen a single allergic reaction in our hospital. And minor side effects can take place like fever or a little bit of joint pain or lethargy or feeling of weakness. But that actually means that the vaccine is in the system and it is working. So one should be happy that your body is responding to the vaccine by generating a response like a mild fever or a body ache and all that. So one should not feel worried about the side effects about the vaccine. Side effects are rather few and they are not very significant.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Sethi, for speaking to us here at NDTV. Now, the big story we're tracking, the deadline for the West Bengal Chief Secretary Alapan Bandyopadhyay ends today at 10 this morning. Remember, Mr. Bandyopadhyay has been asked to report to the DOPT office at North Block by the centre in an unprecedented order after the bureaucrats skipped a detailed meeting with the Prime Minister last week that involved the governor and leader of opposition in the state. The Chief Minister and the Chief Secretary instead met the Prime Minister, handed over documents of assessment of the damage caused by Cyclone Yas. The Chief Minister, Mamata Banerjee, has accused the Prime Minister of insulting IAS officers and creating a confrontation with Bengal. Well, let's go across to NDTV Saurabh for more on this story. And Saurabh, what are you hearing?
Well, it's unlikely at this point. We cannot say we can confirm this, but it's unlikely that the Chief Secretary Alapan Bandyopadhyay will report to Delhi at 10:30 as that order from the centre asks him to do. What we're being given to understand is that he has scheduled meetings and a video conference probably from his office, and those meetings are of course on his schedule. So obviously this is something that's likely to continue. He's also scheduled to have other meetings in the day. So his chances of going to New Delhi at this point seem to be very slim. He's also not been relieved by the Bengal government. And what we know is that the centre, of course, has not spoken since that, letter was sent. But the Bengal Chief Minister, Mamata Banerjee, has appealed to the centre to withdraw that unprecedented order. And at this point, we know that the Chief Secretary drove to his office on Sunday evening and spent several hours in office there. So he was at work even on Sunday, but whether, the chances of him going to Delhi today at 10:30 by that deadline seem very slim at this point.
Right, Saurabh, this is an unprecedented order, and the situation of the Chief Secretary is also a little different than other IAS officers, because he is somebody who is on an extension. So this also creates, it's something that no one has dealt with, and what rule really applies in such a case, given that he's already on a 3-month extension to deal with the cyclone and COVID situation.
Well, this extension to the Chief Minister, he was due to retire on 31st May, which is today. This extension for 3 months was given by the centre after Mamata Banerjee, the West Bengal Chief Minister, wrote a letter to the centre specifically saying that for COVID and for, the cyclone relief that he's been working on, we need him to continue. And therefore, those 3 months of extension was given to him. That is something that was given by the centre. So this order, after he was given that extension, seems a little out of place, at least to anyone observing, these things and anyone who's conversant with these matters. But at this point, it is really, it's likely to end up in the courts, given the fact that caveats have been filed with the CAT, the Central Administrative Tribunal, and also the courts. But how this is going to play out, there are two ways. Of course, it's going to be a, center-state issue, federal-state, federal-state and how center-state relations, while the authority is there. But it's also going to play out politically, because the Trinamool says all of this is because the BJP hasn't been able to digest its defeat in Bengal and wants to continue targeting the Trinamool government.
All right, Saurabh, thanks so much for joining us with those details. So the Chief Secretary unlikely to be in North Block at 10 today. The other big story today, will the CBSE and ICSE conduct the final 12th class examinations? Now, anxious students and parents are eagerly waiting this decision. Remember, the centre is going to announce the decision tomorrow. 1st of June was the deadline. But today, the Supreme Court will be considering a PIL for cancellation of the 12th exam due to COVID and asking that the results be declared based on internal assessment. At the same time, the court is also considering another PIL which favours conducting examinations. Well, let's go across to NDTV's Vaidya for more on this. And Vaidya, this was taken up last week, and then it was announced that it would be taken up on Monday. The Supreme Court also saying that they were hopeful of some sort of outcome today.
Yeah, around 12 lakh students, as per the petitioner, are anxiously awaiting the outcome of the Supreme Court. So last hearing, the Supreme Court asked the CBSE and ICSE to submit their responses so that they can pass directions after hearing both of them. Not only that, Supreme Court has also asked the assistance of the Attorney General, Mr. K.K. Venugopal, the government's top lawyer. So today, around 11 o'clock, the petitions will be taken up by a two-judge bench. But as you rightly said, that tomorrow the government will be coming out with a decision. We don't know whether the CBSE and ICSE would be informing the court what they are going to do tomorrow, because there is already a suggestion going on that based on the internal assessment, the result should be declared. But whereas the other petition says that favoring the examination, saying that the 12th exam is an integral part of in the career of a student's life and it should not be cancelled, because most of the educational experts, according to that petition, is that favoring examination. But anyway, court will have to examine it. We don't know whether the decision will be today itself or will the court wait for the government decision tomorrow.
All right, Vaidya, thanks so much for joining us with those details. So the Supreme Court going to take up that matter at 11 today. Now, West Bengal is one of the most populous states of India, and the pace of vaccinations is a worry. While post the cyclone, the state did register an increase in the number of vaccinations. Experts and the government say that till the time more supplies of vaccines come in, scaling up is going to be a huge challenge.
I didn't get vaccine till now, and I must say that the situation is very bad in Kolkata.
हम लोग डेली कोविन ऐप में जाके 18 प्लस एंड अबव कैटेगरी के लिए वैक्सीन सर्च कर रहे हैं स्लॉट बुकिंग के लिए, चाहे वो फ्री वैक्सीन हो या पेड वैक्सीन हो, हम लोगों को कुछ नहीं मिल रहा है.
I have registered for the vaccination. It's almost been a month. Still now I haven't got any slot for the vaccination.
Young working people who step out every day, use public transport, are struggling to get their jabs as supplies of vaccines are limited. For many, it's hitting business directly, like Ashima Rangi, who's a Pilates trainer. Her clients are staying away till they are vaccinated.
So unless everybody is vaccinated completely, nobody is going to feel comfortable coming to, say, a gym or a Pilates studio. The delay is definitely causing problems in the industry and in my business, because people are hesitant. You know, people are waiting for their turn, people are waiting to get their second doses, so they're missing classes. So yeah, there's definitely that problem in the business, yeah.
Nisha Eliza has also been trying to get the vaccine but has had no luck. She's been staying home to protect her elderly mother.
Having an elderly person in the house, it becomes all the more important for us to
do whatever we can to safeguard ourselves. The vaccine is what has been told to us is going to protect us. So it's very important, having an elderly person in the house especially, it's very important for us to get vaccinated.
Healthcare experts say getting vaccines has been a challenge, and that's why many vaccination centers are shut. Some hospitals like Woodlands are among the few vaccinating the 18 to 44 age group, and they say they will scale up as more doses arrive. Woodlands, being an early mover, has supplies of Covaxin and Covishield and is also hoping to get supplies of the Sputnik vaccine soon.
I think we need to really add on a lot many more vaccination centers, and the manufacturers have been very clear. They said that it is only to the hospitals they are going to supply. So it is a question of the supply coming to the hospital, and hospitals are all ready. We have an association of hospitals for Eastern India, and I'm part of, I'm a past president. So we are very in touch with the other hospital heads, and they all are ready. It's a question of the vaccines reaching them, and they start. It's sad that we have been late by almost a month, and we don't really know when the supplies are coming.
Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee says given that Bengal is one of the most populous states in the country, the process is a challenge as compared to other states. She is pushing for 3 crore doses for Bengal. The government says it is focusing on groups that could act as spreaders like auto drivers, rickshaw pullers, bus drivers, hawkers, vegetable sellers, fishmongers and frontline workers including the press are being vaccinated.
আমরা প্রায় 1.4 crore লোককে অলরেডি কোভিড ভ্যাকসিনেশন অলরেডি আমরা দিয়েছি এবং আমরা প্রায়োরিটি দিচ্ছি যারা বেশি স্প্রেড করে, বিশেষ করে গরিব মানুষ যারা কাজের মধ্যে থাকে। এবং আমরা আবার আবেদন করব যে আমাদের ভ্যাকসিনেশনটা দেওয়া হোক, যেটা আমরা 3 কোটি চেয়েছি। 1 কোটি আমরা প্রাইভেটকে দেবো আর 2 কোটি আমরা নিজেরা করব। এই 2 কোটি যদি আমরা করে ফেলতে পারি তাহলে আমাদের পপুলেশনের 18 বছরের নিচে যে পপুলেশন আছে তার 80% আমরা কভার করতে পারব।
For those who managed to get their doses, it's a relief, even though it's been a multi-city effort at times.
I'm staying in Kharagpur. My friend working in Bangalore, he helped me get registered. I came to Calcutta and got myself vaccinated. A long process, but yeah, I'm feeling safe right now.
It's not been the greatest experience in terms of booking a slot, because a lot of us have been struggling since the slot booking opened a month back. But I really hope that everyone really beats this pandemic, and this horror, this needs to end.
Every night, me and my wife, would just glued to our phone. We were glued to our phone for 2 hours continuously with Arogya Setu app opened, and we would just give pin codes of all wherever centers we knew. So luckily we got the appointment for Woodlands.
Bengal needs to scale up vaccinations in a massive way to prevent a third wave, but that depends on supply, on which there is no clarity yet. In Kolkata, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
Well, let's just take a look at the latest COVID data that has been released, and India reported 1.52 lakh new COVID cases, which is the lowest in 50 days. So a firm downward trend in the number of cases being reported every single day. The number of deaths are 3,128 in that 24-hour period. So deaths still remaining very, very high. Remember, over 3,000. And even though the cases are coming down, 1.52 lakh daily cases being reported in the last 24 hours. Do remember, this is higher than it ever went in the first wave of coronavirus in the country last year. So good news with a firm downward trend in the daily cases being reported. 1.52 lakh daily cases reported in the last 24 hours. Deaths registered are 3,128. Time for us to slip into a short break. On the other side, a special report from Delhi hospital and crematoriums when Delhi was at its peak in the second wave of COVID. Welcome back. Now, while the situation in Delhi has greatly improved over the last month, but the trauma of the COVID second wave continues and reminds us to remain alert. Here's a look at what it was like in crematoriums during the peak of the second wave, scenes we could never have imagined in the national capital.
People did not get oxygen cylinders. They did not get beds in the hospitals. Hospitals were house full. They died gasping for breath. And when their family members got them here at crematoriums were also full.
As the crisis worsened, this drone image of an overflowing crematorium in Simapuri in East Delhi became the terrible defining image of Delhi's descent into COVID hell. A crisis so acute that new cremation platforms came up in a public park abutting a crematorium in Sarai Kale Khan in South Delhi. At another major crematorium in Ghazipur in East Delhi, grieving families had to negotiate the logistics of loss.
सुबह 4 बजे देखा, फिर उसके बाद फिर 6 बजे आया, फिर अब रात को अभी शाम को भी 9 साढ़े 9 बजे लेके आए। अच्छा, अब आपको क्या लगता है कितने बजे होगा? ये अभी 3:30 बजे का टाइम दे रहे हैं। 3:30 एक साथ पूरा दिन लग गया।
A first-hand account of that terrible time from a crematorium worker.
बाकी हम लोग पास में संस्कार कराएं, जगह कम थी तो जगह का देखते हुए हम लोगों ने पास में जो संस्कार कराए, एक साथ में 100 चिताओं की अग्नि देते थे। तो जी किसी में आग पकड़ गई तो वो जल गई, कई बार लकड़ी है आग बुझ जाती थी तो उसको हम जलाते थे। जलाते समय चिंगारी है, पतिंगा है, ये सब उड़ के हमारे कपड़ों में भी आ जाता था, कपड़े भी जल जाते थे, फिर भी हम लोग अपनी मेहनत से हटे नहीं।
On the 28th of April, we filmed this horrifying moment at Pitampura in northwest Delhi. 48-year-old Pritam Singh, along with his friend, attempting to lower the dead body of A.N. Yadav, a 70-year-old man who died of COVID. Mr. Yadav's only family present was his wife, also stricken with COVID. Despite Pritam's appeals, no one came forward, just watched silently. This week we met Pritam outside the now abandoned home of the Yadavs.
पर अनफॉर्चुनेटली ये हुआ कि 4 दिन बाद उन्हीं की वाइफ की डेथ होती है और उनके ना उनको ऑक्सीजन मिली और ना उनको बेड मिला और उन्हीं की भी यहाँ घर में ही तड़प के डेथ होती है। यहाँ यानी हस्बैंड यादव जी और मिसेस यादव दोनों की डेथ होगी और घर में इस टाइम पे लॉक लगा हुआ है, यहाँ पे कोई भी नहीं है यहाँ पे।
He spoke of how, with no government in sight, he and his friend Devender had to step in. They claim to have cremated over 470 bodies in 45 days.
एक 14 साल का बच्चा हमारे को कॉल आई कि उनके माताजी की डेथ हो गई है, तो हम लोग वहाँ उनके घर बॉडी लेने गए तो वो बच्चा अकेला ही था। तो उसके फादर ने बोला कि भाई हमने बहुत सारे लोगों को फ़ोन किया, रिलेटिव्स को फ़ोन किया, उसको खुद को भी उनके फादर को भी कोविड था, तो उनकी हेल्प के लिए कोई ना उनका रिश्तेदार ना कोई उनका आसी पड़ोसी आया। तो हम बच्चे के साथ शमशान घाट आ गए। तो जब वहाँ जाके देखा तो बच्चे को तो बेचारे को ये भी नहीं पता कि यहाँ पैसे लगते हैं संस्कार के लिए। तो शॉकिंग था, मेरे रोंगटे अभी भी खड़े हैं। तो बच्चे ने कॉल किया किसी को पैसों के लिए, तो हमारे वॉलंटियर ने सुन लिया कि पैसों के लिए कॉल कर रहा है बच्चा। तो मेरे को आके बताया कि वीर जी ऐसे ऐसे, वो बच्चा पैसे भी नहीं है उसके पास। तो मैंने उनको वॉलंटियर को बोला कि बच्चे को ले आओ आप अंदर। तो हम अपने से यूनाइटेड सिक्स जो सेवा निभा रहा है कि जिसके पास क्रिमेशन के लिए भी पैसे नहीं है तो हम लोग उनकी ऐसे भी मदद करते हैं। ऐसे बहुत सारे इंसिडेंट हमारे साथ हुए। ठीक 1 हफ्ते के बाद फिर से वही रिक्रिएट सीन होता है, उसके फादर की भी डेथ हो जाती है। अब हमारे पैरों से ज़मीन निकल जाती है।
Welcome back. Well, let's now take a look at the stock markets and let's bring up the Sensex. And there you can see the Sensex in the green, up by 106.9. Though the markets opened in the red, the Sensex in fact slid over 200 points on opening. But now the Sensex is up again, as you can see, 106 point up. Let's take a look at the top gainers. And GAIL India up by 1.96%, nearly 2% at 155 there. ICICI Bank up by 1.63%. And Yes Bank also in the green, up by 1.5%. and Z Entertainment up as well, up over 1% this morning. Dr. Reddy's up by nearly a percentage point, trading at 5,247. Eicher Motors up by 0.83%. So let's bring up the losers now in this morning. And Tata Motors down by 1.29%. Adani Ports and SCZ also down by 0.90% this morning, while Wipro is down as well by 0.78%. Some of the other losers this morning, Coal India down by 0.44%, BPCL down by 0.35% in morning trade, and Hero MotoCorp down as well by 0.29%. Let's take a look now at the BSE top gainers, and PNB Housing Finance is up by a whopping 19.99%. So nearly 20% rise for this stock here at 525. Signet Industries is also up by 19.91%, and Redington up as well by 17.23%. So big gains in the top gainers here. And let's take a look now at the top losers on the BSE, and Epic is down by 9.67%. That's a big loss. Also, Tilak Nagar IND is down by 9.27%. Well, let's take a look now at BankX stocks now. In the banking stocks, ICICI Bank up by 1.66%. Yes Bank in the green as well in morning trade at up by 1.65%. IDBI Bank as well up by 0.52%. So let's take a look at the losers, top losers in the banking stocks, and Bank of Baroda down by 2.68%. IndusInd Bank in the red as well, down by 0.57%, and HDFC Bank as well, they're down in morning trade. Well, let's just bring up the Sensex numbers again there, and the Sensex up by 106 points. Remember, it opened in the red, but now it's gone it's up by 0.21% in morning trade. Well, that is the look at the stock markets.